O.J. Simpson formally charged today with 2 counts of murder.
Looking back 50 years at television news in Los Angeles, talking to veteran journalists about the local TV news business.
He would not let me cover a story unless it involved a Hispanic. Had to be a Mexican involved.
I love stories where you had to uncover wrongdoing. I love grilling politicians who weren't telling the truth.
Also, millions of people are working without a financial safety net, with no savings for retirement. California is one of the first states that has a plan to prevent people from retiring into poverty. How much savings do you have in the bank, roughly?
Well, I guess I have a couple of hundred in the bank.
Did you save anything for retirement?
No, I lived month to month.
Next, we're going to visit a local city that feels like a 1950s small-town Shangri-La. It's got great schools, low crime, lots of new restaurants, and it just won a Business Friendly Award. Now take a look. Can you guess the name of this city?
I moved here with my daughter, Dana. The school system was absolutely terrific.
Okay, let's talk about the television news business in Los Angeles. The economics of TV news is changing now that so many people are getting their news from social media and the internet. But the basic mission of local TV news has not changed. Here's a look back at some of the people and issues involved in the last 50 years in LA.
The first continental atomic detonation in the history of the world.
He has been shot, along with 1 or 2 others. They're on the ground. There are numerous small fissures in the ground around the Van Orman Lakes.
Television news broadcasts in Los Angeles have been on the leading edge of trends in TV news across America.
Don't go near this area. South Central Los Angeles at Florence and Normandy.
Still, LA's local television news has its own unique and original Southern California flavor, and it impacts the public.
Earthquake. Yep, we're having an earthquake.
Fox Alert on the westbound 10.
One of the most controversial issues in LA involves police pursuits broadcast live.
We have some breaking news we're going to follow right now. Are we going to go right to it?
In many cases, the chase takes over an entire newscast. Everything else planned for the news that day gets scrubbed. Actually, police pursuits in Los Angeles tend to injure bystanders at more than twice the rate of pursuits in the rest of California, according to an LA Times analysis.
We're going north on the 405. We're coming to Sunset Boulevard right now.
The most famous pursuit in television history was the so-called low-speed chase in 1994, when murder suspect O.J. Simpson was being pursued by a phalanx of police cars for 60 miles. Simpson, with a gun to his head, was in the back seat of this white Ford Bronco, driven by his friend Al Cowling.
O.J. Simpson formally charged today with 2 counts of murder.
Thousands of people across L.A. were watching the chase. Then CNN picked up the pursuit live, and suddenly millions of viewers across America were following it.
I saw several occasions people with signs saying, "Go, O.J., go," and I thought to myself as we're driving, how did they have time to make the sign and figure out we would be driving right past their home?
KNBC reporter Conan Nolan was on the freeway just ahead of the Simpson pursuit.
We realized, they said, well, O.J. has a gun to his head, and he's in the back seat. Al Collins is driving. And I kept thinking, because remember in the note that Robert Kardashian read, he talked about the media. So I thought, okay, great. We're going to pull up next to him. I got a photographer taking his picture, and he'll use that as the moment to pull the trigger. And we'll be blamed for the death of O.J. Simpson. So I didn't want that to happen.
Eventually, Simpson turned himself in to police. Of course, most freeway pursuits are much less newsworthy, but still they tend to attract huge local audiences.
When I was producing the KTLA Morning News, of course we covered the pursuits. And one day the producer and I said, wait a minute, this is like being held hostage. There's no news value here. If a guy's going 60 miles an hour on the freeway in the middle of nowhere, why are we tying up valuable airtime to do it? So we decided when the next pursuit happened, we would tape it, but we wouldn't air it live. And sure enough, the next pursuit, that happened. We passed on it. It was one of those pursuits, so who cares? our competition at Channel 11 carried it live. The next morning, the ratings came out. They had 4 times the audience that we did. The general manager stuck his head in the control room and said, from now on, we cover all pursuits.
Joel Tater, veteran news show producer, says LA TV stations were among the first in America to start using helicopters to cover news.
The first live telecast from a helicopter.
The pioneer was KTLA, which launched its chopper in 1958.
KTLA owned the breaking news from the helicopter. I was fortunate to be in the booth during the Baldwin Hills dam collapse. I was in the booth for the Watts riots. We owned those stories because we were the only ones who were carrying it live.
Tater was speaking at a tribute honoring the late news anchorman Jess Marlowe, who has passed away. The event, held at Universal Studios, showed videos of Marlowe reporting around the world. Here Jess is doing a time travel story, what LA was like in 1931, along with co-anchor Connie Chung.
The population of Los Angeles is 1.25 million, and many of them are huddled around their radios listening to a new crooner named Bing Crosby sing about the blue of the night meeting the gold of the day.
Men's suits are advertised at $19.95. That's $19.95. Eggs are 28 cents a dozen.
Another of Marlowe's co-anchors was Colleen Williams.
And Jess really took me under wing and taught me everything I know about the business. He was a great mentor.
On video, Tom Brokaw weighed in from New York.
My friend Jess Marlowe and I were both children of the Midwest when we got the call to come to KNBC and have one of the most exciting adventures any broadcast journalist can have.
Brokaw was one of the star anchormen that graced LA television in the early years. That list included Jerry Dunphy, Tom Snyder, Hal Fishman. Of course, Stan Chambers did virtually every job in more than 60 years at KTLA.
Fred has the sports, and we'll all be right back with Nightside. Please join us.
One of the first women to anchor a local news broadcast and earn the big bucks was Kelly Lang.
I was the first woman co-anchor for NBC in all of its own stations in the country. How did I do it? Whoa. My hands are still bloody. It's the glass ceiling. Nobody wanted me. You know, they didn't want a woman. They said, whoever heard of that, you know?
But many women still had to earn their bones as field reporters.
We were competitors, but we had something in common. We were both mature first-time mothers.
Yes, and we both love shoes.
And we love shoes.
Two of the best women reporters, Adrienne Alpert and Laurel Erickson, who won a Peabody Award.
I love stories where you had to uncover wrongdoing. I love grilling politicians who weren't telling the truth.
The Riverside Figueroa Bridge was built in 1926 and...
Alpert was electrocuted when a microwave antenna, like this one on her news van, came too close to power lines, creating an explosive charge, sending a surge of electricity, burning Adrienne. She lost parts of her arm and leg. After that happened, stations across the country began retraining their field people to avoid such accidents.
It is something that happened in my life 14 years ago, and I refuse to let it define me. It's not that I don't talk about it much. I just don't let it be anything more in my life than a mere inconvenience when it has to be. There's more safety training, and I suppose if there's any silver lining in that cloud, I would just say that I hope that this never happens to anybody else.
Primera edición.
Never before have there been so many women and minorities in this business, that is a wonderful thing.
Nowadays, local news on Spanish-language KMEX TV has a larger audience than many English-language newscasts. The growing Latino population is encouraging stations to be more inclusive in hiring and assigning stories.
I remember when I first started at Channel 2 back in 1977. I'll never forget this. I won't give the guy's name. He would not let me cover a story unless it involved a Hispanic. Had to be a Mexican involved. And one day, there's 4 kids that got hit by a train in the city of Bell. Well, he thought that they were all Mexican kids. Well, they turned out to be all white kids. And I got to do the story, and from then on, I wasn't stuck with just Mexican stories anymore.
Confirmation from Buckingham Palace tonight that the world has lost Princess Diana at age 36.
I got a call from Channel 4 saying that Princess Diana had died.
Jim Giggins was a popular reporter who worked at 3 networks. Giggins just happened to be vacationing in France when Princess Diana was killed in a Paris auto accident.
And so I rushed to Paris the next morning because there were no flights. And when I get there, Prince Charles is coming to
take her body. But a good story, though, even before, I'd had dinner with a friend, and he said his daughter was marrying this Brazilian surgeon. But then I'm in Paris, and I hear, over here in French, this woman saying that there was a Brazilian surgeon who tried to save her life. So I call my friend and say, this can't be your new son-in-law. He said, yes. So I get him on the phone, and he tells me his story. He's in there, he's massaging her heart. He is massaging Princess Diana's heart. He said there's almost no blood on her. It's as if she's not been in an accident. The operating room had something like 30 people in there trying to save her, and he is the guy that's doing it. And of course, she passes away. He says the entire operating room is in tears, and they see people die every day. But this was Princess Diana.
Dead at the age of 36 in a terrible car accident.
Thank you to NBC Universal.
That Jess Marlowe tribute also included news managers, people the public rarely sees. The most legendary was Pete Noyes, who managed news at many of the stations.
We have a weird homicide.
He broke major stories like the Manson family murders.
The Manson murder case was the biggest story I ever covered because, as you know, I broke the story at Channel 2. The funny thing is, a month before, we told the LAPD, the captain, Bob Hilder down there, who the murderers were, and he hung up on me. He said I was a crazy son of a bitch, get off the phone and never call back. And then when it was all over, they gave me a commendation from the LAPD, and I used it for toilet paper.
Many of the news veterans at this event have retired, but some are critical of the TV news business today.
Everybody glosses over the stories. We're doing stories that are celebrity-driven, and they're not news-driven. They're not event-driven or history-driven. I think we've left history in a bin someplace.
Problem is that they're cramming the shows with as many stories as they can get in, and oftentimes they're not very well told.
Keep this in mind. The word media is a derivation of mediation. And so there's an argument to be made that there will still be a need for institutions like television news, like newspapers, to mediate all the information that's being flooded into your phone and on your TV and everywhere else.
This tribute luncheon at Universal was arranged by former news producer Bob Tarlow, who heads a media group of about 300 people known as the News Geezers. They meet regularly.
It's preserving old friendships, making new ones, telling war stories, having a lot of laughs, or in the case of the event today, honoring a couple of people who were part of our organization who have fallen by the wayside. Unfortunately, have died, but we want to remember them and keep their memories alive.
That individual was driving a blue 1960s Ford Mustang.
Of course, Hollywood studios are located in LA, and sometimes news people here are asked to act in movies. Kent Shocknick has appeared in over 50 feature films.
I think that they needed someone on the set tomorrow who already knew how to read a teleprompter, and so they said, can you come on down? And I said, sure, why not?
Shocknick was seen on television around the world in 1987 when a major earthquake hit as he was on the air.
I'm going to get under this desk. I apologize for the theatrics.
I'm just a California boy. I went through those quake drills. When an 80-pound light or lights swing above you, you get out of the way. And I always tried to tell myself that my job was to report what was going on, but I really didn't want to risk my life while doing it.
My first job here was Sacramento bureau chief at Channel 4 News. When Ronald Reagan was governor, 3 LA stations had bureaus in the state capitol covering California government and politics, but they were all shut down. When my station closed the Sacramento bureau, my boss called me and he said, sorry, we need that money to pay for a helicopter. Got to cover those car chases. Okay, let's talk about money. Take a look at these projections. 55% of young workers have projected retirement incomes below the poverty level. Also, half of families over the age of 55 have no retirement savings. There's a major crisis coming in retirement planning. Millions of working people may end up with incomes below the poverty level when they retire. California is one of the first states to confront this situation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Senior citizens in Los Angeles reciting the Pledge of Allegiance at a center that gives them discount lunches. Most of these people have incomes of less than $15,000 a year, barely above the poverty level. If they can afford it, they're asked to pay $1 for this lunch, and for many, it's the only complete meal they get all day. How much do you receive for Social Security every month?
Well, I retired early, at 62, so I get $670.
Is that enough to live on?
No.
Did you save anything for retirement?
No. I lived month to month.
Most of these seniors spent their lives working and living month to month. In fact, half of Californians above the age of 55 have no retirement savings. This man, entertaining the crowd, spent his life at a variety of jobs on the fringes of show business. How much have you saved for your retirement?
At this moment, zero. Nothing. It's a sad situation, but I just didn't plan.
It's the same situation for millions of Californians working today. Most of these people live month to month. Many working families here risk not having enough retirement income to meet even basic expenses. It's clear Social Security is barely enough.
The reality is this: statistics show that the projection for the near future is that 50% of middle income Californians will retire into poverty.
Senator De Leon, the floor is yours, sir.
State Senator Kevin De Leon of Los Angeles says that a retirement tidal wave is on the horizon. He says something must be done to shore up the financial future for millions of working Californians.
Retirement insecurity is a major issue, not just for Californians, but for Americans nationwide. Looming on the horizon is a retirement tsunami. Because again, let me underscore, the vast majority of Californians have not saved up enough money to be able to live on past their work years. And the reality is that, which is a godsend, we're living longer, but we're living longer with limited resources. And a lot of folks will be retiring into poverty.
Millions of working people don't have access to 401k plans. Most companies no longer offer pensions. To deal with this retirement crisis, Senator De Leon is introducing something called Secure Choice. This would provide workers with a portable personal pension plan. So when people change jobs, their pension goes with them. Money coming out of their paycheck would be tax deductible. This would build savings for retirement over a lifetime of work. California would be on the frontier with this plan.
We would deduct a percentage of your check on a bi-monthly basis or a monthly basis. That money in turn would be invested for you over a course of time. The goal, the objective is to grow your principal over a course of a lifetime, and obviously with the right investments have that compound. So once you do retire, you have some money left over that gives you a modicum of dignity and respect.
Details of the plan are still being worked out. The financial services industry and some companies are expected to oppose the measure. De Leon says women retirees are at the bottom of the income scale. Charlotte's Social Security check is $944 a month. Did you save for retirement?
No, I didn't save for retirement because I didn't have the money.
How much savings do you have in the bank, roughly?
Well, I guess I have a couple of hundred in the bank.
Couple of $100?
Yes.
You didn't save for your retirement?
No, I did not.
For Senator De Leon, this pension issue is a personal crusade. The woman who raised him, his aunt, has worked all her life doing what these women are doing, cleaning other people's homes, doing other families' laundry. Now in her 70s, his aunt still needs to work.
This is a woman who's worked all her life as a housekeeper, as a waitress, and she really instilled in me the values of a strong work ethic. How is it possible that she's well into her 70s and she's still working to make a living, to pay for the rent, to put the roof over her head, or to keep the roof over her head, to pay for her clothes, to pay for her food, and to pay for her medication.
Now we're going to take you to a Southern California city that has great schools, a low crime rate, and just won a Business Friendly Award. It's a quiet place with a fascinating history. Welcome to Shangri-La in LA County. Can you guess the name of this place we're driving through? It's a city where traffic is light all day. There's a small town 1950s feel to this city, which is right next to the ocean. It's the kind of place where a woman can jog down the center of town at noontime and the streets are wide open. There's a brand new restaurant row here.
During the day you have so many restaurants that have come in. You can walk. We walk to restaurants for lunch or dinner. It's a very nice place to work.
Meantime, on the other side of town, there are more Fortune 500 companies here than any other city in Southern California. These are big brainy companies like Boeing, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman. Can you guess where we are? Well, here's a hint. GPS was invented here. So was the Barbie doll. It's the aerospace capital of the world. Lots of top secret work is still being done here. When the Berlin Wall came down, it was said that this local LA County city played a major role in competition with the Soviets.
It was attributed that the Cold War was won here in El Segundo. We were the center of defense research and development. Everything from the actual aircraft to the radar systems, the sonar systems. This is where it all happened behind closed doors. A lot of people don't know about it. A lot of El Segundo residents don't know what was done here.
Well, he gave it away. We're in El Segundo, a city of 19,000 people tucked away on the coast between Venice and Manhattan Beach. Nowadays, people here are beaming because El Segundo was named the most business-friendly city in LA County for cities with less than 60,000 residents, according to the LA County Economic Development Corporation. Taxes are low here. More than 50 new businesses have come to town in recent years. The Lakers and Kings have practice facilities. 4 new hotels are planned. Many of the new businesses are involved in clean green industries. What are you doing here in El Segundo?
So I have a company called Regreen. We have an office just a block over.
What does it do?
So we're a green energy company, and so we basically do lighting, solar, and water conservation.
What's it like doing business in El Segundo?
El Segundo's awesome. I mean, just to have these shops and stuff just a distance away and being able to walk around, and you know, the vibe and the feel of the city is just exciting.
Sure, there's a touch of Mayberry RFD here in El Segundo. The high school is so quintessentially American, it's been used in many movies. In fact, families have moved here point to the schools.
I moved here with my daughter, Dana. The school system was absolutely terrific, and it was important to me to get her integrated before her advanced years in school.
What's it like living here?
It's a very safe feeling. I'm a single parent, so it was important to me to know that my daughter could be at school, I could be at work, I didn't have to worry, she could walk home. It's, you know, a safe, friendly environment.
There's also a rich history here. Back in 1911, El Segundo was a bunch of sand dunes and brush on the ocean. Then 2 guys from the Standard Oil Corporation, sitting on their briefcases on the beach, decided they were going to put a refinery on this spot.
This was a very bold adventure to really start building a refinery when nothing existed.
And this is the contract which gave Standard Oil the first 640 or so acres property here. Oh. And it was bought for $10 in gold coin.
On July 12, 1911, Los Angeles Times said, starting on world's greatest refinery. A tent city grew up around the refinery. And this is where most of the employees and their families lived.
That tent city became El Segundo, which means the second. This was the second refinery Standard Oil built in California. Over the years, thousands of jobs were created. Millions of barrels of oil and other products were produced. This quickly became one of the largest refineries in the world. By 1917, the town incorporated.
In El Segundo, you brand new town, El Segundo of great renown.
The refinery became a booster for the town, providing money for schools, a hospital, fire services. During World War II, women went to work in the refinery, while men from the town served in the armed forces. In 1984, Standard Oil was renamed Chevron. How has the town changed since you were a little girl?
It's changed enormously. When I was growing up, there was lots of empty space, empty lots for building, and east of Sepulveda, that was fields. That was strawberry fields and cornfields. There used to be strawberry stands.
No more strawberry fields east of Sepulveda. Business-friendly El Segundo has become the little town that could.
Look around you. The city is bustling. It's small business friendly. It's new startup companies friendly. So, yeah, I'm proud that this is my home.
That's it for this edition of the Drive-By Economist. I'm Doug Kriegel. See you next time.